Okay.
Hey, Bill, was late night completely taped, or is there anything live going on Friday? I didn't really understand it all.
Well, I don't understand it all either, GB, but it is all taped to live. I don't know if that's the correct way to put it, but everything that we have done with that, and I think we're finishing up some stuff probably today, and then we'll be ready to roll tomorrow. So everything was done pre-recorded.
Hey,
How
Coach.
did it go?
Go ahead, Gary.
How did it go?
Well, I thought it went well. I haven't seen the finished product or anything, and I haven't seen everything that was going on. There's obviously many of the same aspects that we've always done with late night. Really, the biggest thing missing would probably be some type of musical act at the end, at least what we've done in recent years. And there won't be that, but everything else is pretty much consistent.
Hey, Coach, if you guys were playing tomorrow or in a few days from now, what might the starting lineup look like? And have any guys began to show any separation, or is it all kind of still pretty much even?
No, I won't say that, Shay. You would think that Ochai and Marcus and David would certainly have the inside track on starting positions, and I do believe that's still to be the case without question. But everybody else, I'm not ready to say. I think Christian Brown has had a good training camp, so to speak. Tristan has had his days. Jalen has had his days. Bryce has had his days, and Tyon, to be real honest, has had his days. And so I know I just listed everybody just about on the perimeter, but that's true. The one youngster that has really struggled health-wise is Latrell, and he'll be behind quite a bit because he still hasn't practiced yet. Once we started on the 14th, he was out prior to the 14th with an ankle issue, and he's still not back yet. So he's behind, but everybody else has all had their moments where they looked really good.
Hey, Bill, from a basketball on-court perspective, without having Silvio, how does that change things in the front court?
You know what? It does change it. No question. We've gone from believing that Jethro probably would be our fourth big to now for sure he's our third big. And that third big's going to play from time to time because of foul issues or injuries or a positive COVID test. I mean, there's no way of getting around all those things. So I think it does put some pressure on Jethro to be able to perform. But on the flip side of that, I think it puts a unique opportunity for us to experiment and play five guards. So we go from playing small to play tiny. And I do think that we could be very hard to guard if we can get creative and get guys to understand how to be creative playing five out, which I've never done before. So I think those are interesting things that we can do, but I'm not saying that's how we want to play by any stretch, but I think we need to be prepared to play that way some because of foul situations or injuries or whatever.
In that scenario, would Marcus be the guy at the five or someone else?
Well, I think in that scenario, I think maybe we could have rotating fives. Maybe the five is whoever their five is guarding. I think maybe we could just kind of flip it around and say, okay, our five this possession may be somebody that we want to try to post. I don't think that we're going to be dead set on who would be playing what position. It would be very positionless. But I will say this: if I had to pick somebody that I'd want to be our point guard and somebody that had to play the five, I would take Marcus on both of those. So if in fact we didn't have a big, but that doesn't mean, if he's not handling the ball a lot, then that takes away one of our advantages too. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But we're just experimenting right now, obviously.
How much fun is that for you? I mean, does it bring stress, or is it kind of a fresh air thing?
Hey, there's enough stress going on in the world right now, and within our own lives and everything, that I am not going to get stressed about something that is important, but it doesn't even register on the importance meter in my world. I mean, as we get closer to games and that kind of stuff, I do think that we'll have to figure some stuff out. There's no question. But, I mean, okay, we play small. Where's the traps come from? How do we trap the post? We're not used to doing it this way. So does that change how we trap the post when we are a little bit bigger with David or Mitch in the lineup because do we want them to stay consistent? There's a lot of things to think about, and something else would be, well, what zone can we go to and possibly buy some time too. So I think Matt, that's probably more fun than it is stressful right now. Now, if we didn't have COVID and NCAA and all the other stuff going on, I could say, man, we really got some think this through. But that to me is the fun part of the job right now, as much as anything, is kind of just getting our guys together and kind of roll with the punch. We're asking our players to roll with the punches each and every week. Well, the coaches got to be able to do the same thing.
Hey, kind of looking back to Doak's season last year and just how good he was defensively, especially, is it realistic to ask David to do some of those things that Doak did so well?
I think it is. I think it's reasonable to ask him to be a really good ball screen defender. I think it's reasonable to demand of him, being a not so much of an intimidation, but be a guy that protects the lane. Doak protected the lane probably far better than he ever protected the rim. I don't know, because there was guys that didn't drive it in there because he was in there. I think David can have that same type of presence. But the reality of it is there's some things that nobody in America will do as well defensively as what Doak did last year. And so, I expect a lot out of David, but I'm not expecting him to be the same defender that Doak was, but I am expecting him to hold some of the same qualities that Doak did. And then offensively, other than catching lobs above the rim or, playing to an angle in tight, I do think David can do some things offensively that we haven't had out there in a while. Well, I shouldn't say that. Dedrick could do some things, obviously, when he was in there as a 5, but David, as a true 5-man, can do some things offensively, stepping away from the basket that we haven't had in a while.
Hey, Coach, did Jalen and Tristan Enaruna, did they get enough experience last year to be noticeably ahead of those newcomers, or are they still trying to figure that out a little bit?
I think that Tristan did. And I think Jalen's attitude and his try level, his commitment, I think puts him ahead of the newcomers, with the exception of maybe Bryce. Bryce came in very prepared. Put him, and I don't know if I mentioned Bryce earlier, but certainly he's in the conversation to possibly be a starter as well. But I think Jalen's mindset is I didn't like the way last year went. I didn't like sitting there and watching. I learned what I had to do to get better, to put myself in a position to play, and he's done it. You guys will be amazed at how he's changed his body and how much more explosive and everything that he is this year. So I'm very excited about him in that regard. But, Tyon, to me, Tyon has as much talent as anybody in the gym. It's just whether or not he can kind of pick up the way that we do things as opposed to the way he's used to doing things. And I'm not saying the way he's used to do them is all wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But it doesn't fit with the way we do things in a lot of ways. So he's got to tighten some things up, and so he's thinking and trying to please right now instead of playing. But I expect that to be the case at least for another month or so.
Does no Silvio, you think, allow you to settle into a rotation a little quicker or sooner than maybe you would have or did last year?
You know what? Good question, Matt. I believe that it's much easier to do that when your squad size is reduced to a point where you're almost forced to make the decisions as opposed to choices. I remember some of our best years. I mean, you guys remember this. When Wayne Selden was out at Oklahoma and somebody else was out, and we go down there with 7 scholarship dudes and last game of the season. And I can remember how much fun that was, even though Buddy made a shot at the buzzer to beat us. I remember how much fun that was, and everybody was exhausted after the game, and everybody wasn't happy that we lost, but everybody was certainly happy with the opportunities. That's not the way you want to do it. I wouldn't mind having somebody upset or mad each and every day because they could have been the odd man out. That creates that creates competition in practice and stuff like that. But hey, let's just call it like it is. Mitch, you are going to play. David, you're going to play. Get in the best shape possible, stay out of foul trouble. I think things like that does give guys confidence that they don't have to be great when they're in there to stay in there. So some ways it may make it a little easier.
Bill, has Silvio told you what he's going to do?
No, he has not. I've talked to Silvio a lot, as our staff has. But I don't think he's made a decision, at least to my knowledge, of what his next step is. I don't believe that will be the case. I'm going by off of what he said in the release and sticking to that. You know, he's got some things that he's working through right now.
With Marquette having to sit out 14 days because of one positive, do you think the NCAA will change that to some other thing? Because it seems like that could decimate a season.
I don't believe the NCAA – I think that they are concerned about our season without question. But I think the NCAA has been giving advice and information from experts outside the NCAA that have the best feel on the safest way to proceed. I don't think the NCAA changing how they do things to open themselves up to possible things down the road, unless they were 100% sure, and they can't be 100% sure without the medical world behind them. So our season will get interrupted this year. I'm not saying Kansas's, but our basketball season, the way we know it, will not come off, at least in my opinion, because of the testing protocols. And I don't see those testing protocols changing based on, you know, several teams getting knocked out or having to postpone games or cancel games. I don't. I don't think the medical experts will be making decisions based on college athletics, at least in whole. So, you know, there may be some things that obviously can be tweaked based on as we become more knowledgeable about things and how things are handled or affected and things of that nature. But right now, I personally don't see Marquette, Kansas, Michigan State, Duke, UCLA, New Mexico, anybody that's going through some stuff actually change protocol. Right now, I do.
Sorry, real quick. I just had a logistical question for you. Roster-wise right now, do you have a scholarship available with the Silvio decision? Could you add a player if that opportunity?
No. Are you talking about at break?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
No. The way it's been explained to me, and I actually asked that question is, you know, once you start a semester on aid, it covers you for the entire year in the sport of football and basketball. So there'll be no replacing that aid. So and by, without getting into too much, by opting out, Silvio has the opportunity to stay on aid, you know, this academic year until it's completed or until he graduates, one of the two. So, you know, I don't know exactly what his next move will be. I'm not going to predict it, but there will not be an addition to our team. We'll have 12 on scholarship.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good one.